Can we have another question from the floor, please? Ann Spinner.
Not too many would disagree that clean, fresh water is a primary health need. In the spring to the fall of 2007 and again in the March of 2008, concerned citizens of the Sunshine Coast rallied, demonstrated, and blockaded to protect Chapman Creek Watershed, our main source of drinking water. And yes, Rob, I also met you up there in the company of RCMP officers and Western Forest Product officials. They didn't come through the line that time. They had to go all the way to the Supreme Court to get us off the mountain. And a few dozen RCMP officers had to run around the trails too. But anyway, to get to the point. Greater Vancouver and Victoria do not allow any logging or industrial activities in their drinking watersheds. Are you in favor of protecting our watershed reserves to the same degree that Greater Vancouver and Victoria protect their drinking watersheds? We know that Rob Corlett's opinion on this, since he, along with Brian Carson, both directors of the community forest, testified at the Board of Health hearings in 2007 in favor of logging in our drinking watersheds. That's a fact.
Okay, Hans.
And that's it. So I got one question. Are you in favor of protecting?
Could you state that in writing for me, please?
I got it here, yeah.
Okay. Give it to me.
And further, if elected, are you prepared to take a stand against logging and other industrial activity in our community watersheds, regardless of where the threat comes from? CNI, Western Forest Products, BC Timber Sales, or the community forest?
Okay, thanks. So let's start at the far end, Lee, and we'll work our way back. Are you in favor of protecting?
No, the first question was, are you in favor of protecting to the same degree as Greater Vancouver and Victoria? Okay.
It's my understanding that Vancouver and Victoria completely restrict anything, including recreational activity. I'm not sure whether we're there yet. We don't necessarily have the authority to put up all sorts of...
I'm not asking if you have the authority or not. Are you in favor of it?
Okay.
I mean, if you had the power, I know you don't have it
I support limited recreation activity in the watershed. I think that we should be cautious about it, but I do support it. And what was the other question?
If elected, are you prepared to take a stand against logging and industrial activity in the community watersheds?
Absolutely, I have, and I'm consistent in that support. I support the joint watershed accord that we've signed with the Seashell Indian Band.
I can't add anything to that. I totally agree. I'm totally in agreement with Lee.
Yes?
A whole sentence, please.
Well, yes can be a whole sentence, Hans. I think if you want a whole sentence, look at my record. You know...
I don't just say it.
Yes, of course. Industrial activity in our drinking watersheds is inappropriate when we have the legal and moral responsibility to provide potable water to our citizens. We need to have control of our watersheds, and this is something that I've been struggling with the provincial agencies and government for the last 15 years. It makes no sense to have a disconnect with our legal responsibility to provide water and yet not have the authority to manage the watershed. I mean, there's just a complete disconnect that even the justice in the Supreme Court case said very clearly that the government needs to get on that. And that's why we need to continue to cooperate and collaborate with the province to get that matter resolved, Hans. Sure, this is something that we will resolve in the next term.
Sometimes you also have to take a stand.
Sorry?
Sometimes you also have to take a stand.
I think I've done that. Thank you.
Okay, Rob.
Well, thank you, Hans. Pretty simple. We're talking about Vancouver's watershed. We're talking about Victoria's watershed. 12% of Vancouver's watershed is private land owned by the city. Victoria has just purchased private land within their watershed. So Hans is asking this community, and I agree that we should be purchasing the land from CNI within our watershed. One of the things that Brian Carson, a geoscientist, who withstood quite a bit of personal attack at the local health board hearings, stated is that he does not want a town in our watershed. We talk about protecting our water, and yet it's okay to recreate in our watershed. Tony presented at the local health board hearing and was concerned about defecation and urination in our watershed. If you go on the internet, you can find a pea tree up in the tetrahedron that's in our watershed. We need to protect our watershed with a level playing field attitude. The line of industrial activity is not correct. Pathogens come from other sources than industrial activity.
Thanks, Rob.
So do you-
Lauren?
So to answer the question, can we pee in the watershed?
No, Lauren, go ahead.
Aside from the air that we breathe, what is more precious than the water that we drink? And my actions have been guided that way, and I believe in point to source to consumption protection of the watershed. And I support limited access backcountry recreation in our watershed. It is one way for us to have eyes and ears out there, and so I don't know. My record speaks for itself. I've been very outspoken with regard to protection of our watershed. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, absolutely do not support industrial activity in the watershed, but I do not believe that limited recreation is on a par with industrial activity in terms of the damage. I don't support the use of ATVs and dirt bikes and that kind of thing in the watershed, but foot traffic, limited access. I understand that the road to the tetrahedron, although it's been worked on by Ministry of Forests, there's a big water bar at the very beginning, so you really do need a good vehicle, a four-wheel drive vehicle to get up in there. And so that is one way of limiting access, but people hiking and recreating up there is, as Lauren said, eyes and ears, and a wonderful way for us to connect with the land and connect with something that is so magical, and really to help us to protect it, we have to understand it. So I don't support the level of restriction that we have in Vancouver and Victoria. We don't have that kind of population either. So I think that as long as we can keep the access restricted, I think recreational access is fine. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Donna.